Hello and welcome to the Swim Brief. This is the pre-Thanksgiving edition. Joining me from an undisclosed location to protect his own safety, somewhere in the state of Wisconsin, is Erik Weiken. Erik, how are you?
Doing all right, enjoying my time away from the rain in Houston to the cold in a suburb of Milwaukee. So,
Yeah, we got to protect you from the fans, though.
yeah,
I mean, because I think since this podcast has gotten above 5,000 downloads a month, things have gotten, I think just things have changed,
yeah,
right? In the way that people react when they see you in public.
yep.
And
I did have somebody introduce themselves at the 2022 Short Course Y Nationals. Um, Quite pleasant as a normal human being, so I can't be that lucky every time.
right, right. All the other times where the people are coming up to you and they're mad, whether it be about Joel's comments on Romania or Joel's comments on Stanford, it's just like you feel like you probably have to be answerable to
I
what other people
constantly have to
say. Yeah,
answer for the comments that I never make.
right.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think hopefully today we can add some fuel to the fire. We decided for this one, and Joel was unable to make it, partially due to a scheduling snafu on my end. So we decided that we would have hot takes from the first week end of college invites because for those of you who follow college swimming, right, you know that there's first off, the whole season has gotten a lot more exciting than it used to be. But then there's also these mid-season points that have traditionally been an exciting point. And there's, roughly distributed number of them that come the week before Thanksgiving, and then another group of them that come after Thanksgiving, which gives us 2 full weeks of content to put on that podcast. So I asked you and even myself to sit and come up with some takes from the weekend's meets that we could discuss. And I'm going to let you go first. So give me your first smoke and take from this first weekend of invites, and then we'll discuss that a little bit, and I'll bring one out.
One of the big ones that stood out to me was the ASU men at the NC State invite. Clearly NC State has been doing a great job year in, year out, but just seeing the ASU men come on in this midseason meet, throwing down the times that they did in a whole host of events, not just in their now pet events, which are the sprint events, which we'll talk about in a bit. But Leon Marchand aside, who seems to be able to swim anything and everything all at once. His big one that didn't really surprise me, but stood out was just like the 3:33 4 IM into the 1:32 800 free relay. So that double that night was pretty incredible. The ASU men putting 4 under 43 in that 100 free A final. A kid that I watched growing up back in the Midwest, and Jack Dolan getting under 19 for the first time in a 50 free. So
Yep.
big swim there. But as far as the men's teams around the country in this first weekend, it really seemed like ASU just hit the ground in a full-out sprint in every single facet of their program. So if it's a hot take more than it is just a reaffirmation of some of the things that we've been seeing so far, is that they're really not missing a beat in any opportunity to swim fast.
Yeah, and I think, there's a certain vein of this where you could go like, well, why focus on something like that? They're already so good. But I think anybody, who's given this a fair look knows it's really, really hard to improve at the level that they're at. And it seems like their team is still improving. And the next level up of improvement for them puts them in contention for a national title.
Yeah.
So it is a big deal.
Yeah, they're clearly
It is a
pushing
big deal.
top
It's
5 right now with some of these results. Like they're definitely on
right,
that next step.
right.
So
And like we don't want to give Kyle Sockwell who's the most prominent uh, uh, ASU alumni slash fan slash hype man. We don't want to give him too much credit, but we just can't ignore, I think, what's happening there. Certainly the stuff with Marshawn, but I think you're right to point out that it goes much more than skin deep with that team. That you can see that there's sort of a lot of people that are continuing to develop. They're coming along for the ride. The team is just getting better across the board, and definitely a statement for them to sort of come across the country and
3 time zones and just light it up.
and just light it up against NC State, right?
Yeah.
Who's essentially, I mean, I know that meets like at the GAC or whatever, so it's not technically on NC State's campus, but it's sort of like their home turf.
Yeah, and NCAA's
you wouldn't want to have a meet on their home turf.
Yeah. That's a tough place to go into. But we also, in that same weekend, that same meet, we had the Stanford women.
Oh, here we go.
We had Joel's favorite
Here
team.
we go.
So it begs the question with a lot of those Olympians and national caliber and international caliber swimmers not taking steps backwards in their first opportunity to swim. Some of the freshmen, Curzan had a PR in a 2-back. There's kind of an asterisk with that, not really being rested for a while. But a lot of great swims. Is this going to go against the blind seething hatred that Joel has for this program? And is this the turnaround point, Chris? Are they moving forward? Is the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons an aberration?
You know what I love is that we're playing along with this, and that we actually have a lot of new listeners who are probably going to internalize, like, wow, what did Joel say about Stanford? And then maybe they're going to dig through the archives. They're going to listen to the podcast. They're going to go, wait a second, that doesn't sound like Joel at all. That sounds like Chris's voice, who's making a bunch of critical points about Stanford. I can't believe these podcasters would be so dishonest about what's happened. No, I mean, I think I do agree with you. Stanford women swim well, and I gotta recognize both sides of the coin there. I think it'll be really interesting to see and tell you a lot about how effectively Greg Meehan is coaching there, that they're now in their sort of post super team period, right? Virginia women are essentially the super team. Although I saw a poll, like the CSCAA poll had Texas women ranked first. And it made me doubt whether I've been following college swimming well enough. I'm like, really? There was like people that sat down and went, yeah, I think probably Texas is better than UVA.
Is that a dual meet poll?
Have they had a dual meet? Am I exposing myself live on the podcast and Texas beat UVA in the dual meet? Or
a big fancy dual meet where there was actually some pomp and circumstance out at UT the first night.
Did Texas win?
I believe there was some disqualifications in the mix as far as relays go, but it was definitely a victory on
Eric, tell me what happened. I'm embarrassing myself live. Every minute this conversation goes longer.
Yeah, the women did have they did pull out a W as far as I remember. So
okay, so sorry. Now I'm horribly embarrassed. But, I missed that, and that's right. The people I know from the people, from having run that poll, the people in the room went, well, we have to put Texas first because they beat UVA.
Yeah. Regardless
of whether we think, like, if this meet was held 100 times, would UVA win 51 of them? Which I think, honestly, I still think that's true. At least 51 of them. That's my opinion. I don't know how we got here, but anyway.
We all know it's a different situation when you get to the invite format in an NCAA 3+ days versus dual meet.
Stanford is no longer that super team, right? They're no longer the team that, has sort of all the hype around it. Now, Stanford University, don't cry any tears for Stanford University in terms of people wanting to go there. I think that's about as bulletproof a proposition as there is, especially in the sport of swimming, that really, really fast swimmers will want to, at a minimum, study at Stanford University. And it'd be good that they also have a swim team for them to continue doing that. So that part of it will always sustain them, I think, with they have a pretty high floor of performance. But, I still think, I think you're right in the point making that they are doing well. I think, I want to see how things go over the course of 4 years. And that's where I probably would really change and recant all of the opinions I shared on there. Like, if Claire Curzan is walking away from Stanford a significantly, or even like just a little bit better.
Yeah, because let's be honest, a 1% improvement for somebody like
right.
Claire Curzan,
it's massive. Yes, if she's a little bit better than when she got there, that'll be something where I'm like, okay, I've got to eat it, because I think even with some of the analysis that I gave way back when, there was a lot of like swam well freshman year, swam pretty good sophomore year, and some tapering off, some natural tapering off as you got into those third and fourth years. And I think that segues probably pretty well into one of the invite points that I want to make, which is I want to give a shout out to Auburn University and Coach Ryan Wakamerko, who we've brought up a number of times in the context of this podcast. But I was watching that UGA invite, because as people know, I'm an old Georgia Tech homer. And I guess there's no Georgia Tech invite anymore. I don't know what happened to the Georgia Tech invite, but now they're swimming at Georgia. And so it brought my attention over. And it was like a power-packed little invite with Auburn, Georgia, Florida, Georgia Tech, and Florida State as sort of the big teams competing there. And I was really impressed with Auburn on two fronts. I think the first front is I can see that there are swimmers who, this is Wakamerko's second year. He hasn't had a chance to recruit even probably most of the swimmers that are on the team. They have a lot of swimmers that he didn't recruit that are swimming really well. And I think I want to bring that up because I think when you take over a big program, there's a bit of fool's gold that you're offered, right? You can say, hey, the previous guy really messed this up, and he put a bunch of people on this roster that, they're not my people, or I wouldn't have recruited them, or, all this stuff. Like, people will give you a pass on that. Your athletic director will give you a pass on it, probably. A lot of the fans that are following. And the reason I say it's fool's gold is because, yeah, you can blow it all up and start from scratch, but can you really?
Yeah.
Because it's going to make it take, if you don't have that in your skill set to come in and take swimmers that didn't choose you and you didn't choose them, right, and help them to keep moving forward, it's going to be a real painful trip back to wherever you want to get success-wise. And what I'm seeing is, what I'm seeing is that they're actually having a lot of success with those swimmers.
Yeah. So
that, they've got juniors and seniors on the roster who are swimming better than they've ever swam. And they've continued to swim. They've stayed there. No transition like this is without transfers, but I've seen a plenty of just really positive progress from people that were there before. And if people listen all the way back, I have a podcast with Ryan Wakamerko where he talks explicitly about this as a strategy that he was going to employ, or that he was employing, as I think I talked to him in the first month on the job. So I've been following that. Like, I want to know when somebody tells me something like that, the little switch in my brain goes, okay, I'm actually going to follow up and see if this was true or not.
Yeah.
And from the outside looking in, it is true. Watching them mix it up in relays with teams like Florida and Georgia, and in many cases, or in several cases, come out ahead of one of those two teams. I think it's a really, really positive sign for Auburn, and I was really impressed. That's
Yeah, I mean,
that's me stopping my Auburn point.
long term in terms of like just, I mean, it's still a big thing. They are an SEC team. They do have resources, but your alumni support is big. Those kids who came in and didn't choose them now if they're having a really fun experience and they're swimming fast, you've got them locked in. You've got them locked in for life.
Right.
And then furthermore, it's a huge recruiting tool that you can just come in with kids you've never worked with, like you would as any other college coach, but really kids that you didn't plan on working with, and taking them to the level they want to be. It bodes really well for the program. Speaking of that UGA invite, I mean, the Florida men look solid. I mean, we could talk a little bit about those guys in terms of, Sprint being on point. Jake McGahee's first kind of suited experience being on a new Florida team, and looks to be settling in pretty well. A really solid mid-season mile. That's one of those events that's really tough to, what's going to happen on any given day. It could be great.
It may be the first time you're swimming it all year, or at best, it's the second time you're swimming it.
And just being off the A cut, so being in a place where he's already gonna get invited. The one thing that I noticed on the Florida women's side is that Emma Wyatt was again not competing. So I didn't do enough research in the last, I don't know, few months to notice that she made that transfer out of UVA and to Florida and not at the mid-season. So maybe there's just taking this semester and kind of doing a little bit of a mental reset and training and getting back into things. And hopefully that's the case and she's in a good spot. Otherwise, like you said, it was just kind of a meet that was going really well that kind of flew a bit under the radar because it didn't have a lot of the flash and flare of some of the names that you saw at the NC State and some of the other names in and around the country. And, we were going to mention some of the good things happening in Tennessee, and then a little bit going on at Art Adamson. But in any event, I don't know what direction you want to go next.
I was smirking at your Art Adamson comment because two things. First off, I feel like for whatever reason, there's just certain places like that all of us just seem to follow naturally more close, and you're always following Texas. So my first reason for my smirk, for those of you watching the video, is that Erik just gives a disproportionate number of updates on Texas A&M for whatever reason. It's a team that interests him more.
It's 75 minutes from my
that's got to be that's got to be part of it. But the other one is I would like a definitive ranking of the named invites. Like I need somebody to dive in hard and give me like a top 5. Like, was Art Adamson, like how does Art Adamson stack up against Phil Hansel? Like this is like I need to know all the invites that have somebody's name, after it.
And then
I need to know how those two people compare up.
So if one of them is more like a World War II veteran that happened to like swim across an ocean dragging one of his soldiers.
Right. I mean, it kind of like the point of having it named the Art Adamson invite, I think would be to recognize Art Adamson, but I confess I don't off the top of my head know who Art Adamson is or was. And I've been to the Phil Hansel invite, and I definitely got an explanation of what Phil Hansel had done, but I don't know that either. So I'm just saying, for anybody out there that has the same interest as me, if you could just compile a list of these named invites and just like maybe pit them head to head against each other, that's the kind of content I would love to consume and probably won't be created. All right. What else you got? Do you want to talk about Adamson a little bit?
Yeah, we can. Because one of the things that I noticed, and again, it being in my backyard, and
did you go see some live, Erik?
I did not actually. I was
okay.
Working in the office and getting ready for traveling at the end of the week, and now here in my undisclosed location on the southeast portion of Wisconsin. Um, Texas A&M landed Baylor Nelson, the number one recruit
Yeah.
in a class ago. So one of the things that I was really looking at in terms of this first meet is what is his first real opportunity to suit and rest look like for A&M. Now, as we all know, it's one of those things where guys are typically on that upward trajectory for several years, but when somebody comes in at that level, it's not quite maybe nearly the same when you come in as fast as somebody like he does. And he posted some PRs and some really great swims. You think about the last time they had somebody in like him who was a strong IMer and a strong backstroker, and we can't say that they are certainly on the same level, but they had similar success with your boy. And I think it's a good thing to show for this program, is that it's like he obviously chose Texas A&M. He could have gone anywhere. Their number one recruit in the nation can go anywhere he really wants to. It ends up choosing A&M. Maybe it's the color scheme. Maybe he just wants to be an Aggie and do the thumbs up thing. But the reality is he had a great meet, and and one of the other things too. And again, it's kind of a homer. And full disclosure, I do have to follow some of the teams that I do work with in my profession, and the LSU sprinters. Obviously, with Curry and McNeil having a good meet, putting down some really, really solid times, kind of kept going as their season progressed, and some of the other swims around them. And obviously, Maggie McNeil has a huge impact on where that team lands, not only at SECs, but at NCAAs. Their women got the A cut in the 200 free relay, which obviously it helps when you have somebody go 20.5 on the 2 leg of that relay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yes, but the reality is the sprinting around them is doing well. The other strokes and the other races are starting to pick up, and they're starting to adapt to some of the things that are going on at LSU. But the two big names that are supposed to be going really fast are found out she pulled out of the last day. Would have been interesting to see the 100 free, but she's got a short course world championships to focus on. So got some really fast times in earlier in the week, and then one more. Just it was hard to really keep up with all the results and kind of look with it, but the big name on the women's side, not named McNeil, was out of A&M with Chloe Stepanek in the freestyles, putting in some really solid times there. Kind of stood out to me as far as that meet goes. So I guess we just need to find out what Art did, and if he was an awesome person or not.
I'm sure he did something amazing. I don't know if that makes him an amazing person or not. Bad people can do amazing things. Good people can do amazing things. I don't know. We're going to know full philosophical conversation. I just want to say to Jay Holmes at A&M, like, whatever you're paying Eric, it's not enough. Okay, like you guys, that cash that you've been mailing. Okay. Oh yeah, double it. Okay, whatever you're mailing him,
they're not paying me.
Double it. Double it, guys, because he's out here doing God's work for you. He is marketing your program. And I guess that's my way of segueing into a weird situation, because I think this is a program that gets a lot of attention to it, but I want to highlight somebody within that program that's sort of like, he's kind of a cult hit of a coach. And that person is Josh Hugie, who I am deducing coaches sprinters at the University of Tennessee. And I just want to preface it by saying also I take full credit for all the success of Josh Hugie, because prior to him becoming a college swim coach, he emailed me once about becoming a college swim coach, and I replied to that email. So really, when you think about it, all the success I'm about to discuss is really because of me.
Yeah. You were the catalyst.
And this is all just a self-referential loop of way for me to praise myself. But no, seriously, I think he's not necessarily a guy who if you just follow social media, you're going to be like hit over the head with like, hey, this guy is a collegiate elite sprint coach. And yet he had Crooks uh, as just an absolutely insane freshman sprinter last year. And by the way, like a normal age for a freshman sprinter, essentially. And then he's got this swimmer, Guy Caribe, I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, who is pretty close to Crooks's level. Just 1 year afterwards, he's just behind him in the all-time fastest freshman. And actually, when you go to the next person down the line, it's Jimmy Fegan and Danny Kruger. And Jimmy Fegan, that was a suit year,
2009, 13 years ago.
Yeah. So incredibly impressive performance. Now, I did, in my research before this, turn up that Caribe had done a 48 4, I believe, in the 100 long course free. So I guess when you've done a 48-4 in long course free, 41 in the 100 free is pretty much what you might expect. Actually, even more hilariously, and this is just a side tangent that I want to go on, and people listen, I think specifically, Eric, for just the random paths that my brain goes down. I found a recruiting profile for Guilherme Caribe Oliveira Santos. So just for everybody out there that feels like, man, I really need a leg up in recruiting. This guy is the second fastest freshman sprinter ever. And as far as I can tell, paid somebody money to get his name out there to college programs. I'm just throwing that information. Do with it what you will. My advice, if I could have a time machine to go back, is just email college coaches that you go as of when he set up this profile. I go 49 long course in the 100 free. Just do that. Like, just subject line. I go 49 long course in the 100 free. I don't think you need to do any other recruiting services after that. But nevertheless, he did. And it's just an amazing time capsule to see that somebody was acting as intermediary. Other amazing stats from this: 6'1", 152 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's some some Anthony Irvin style build right there.
Yeah.
That sounds exactly like him from his freshman year.
Full whippet mode engaged. I guess when this guy was going extremely fast, maybe he's put on a bit since then. Again, that would probably be sentence 2 in my email. I go 49 long course in the 100 free, and I weigh 150 pounds. And just like let the imagination of the college coaches run wild with what they could do with a 150-pound person who goes 49 long course in the 100 free. No, but back to Josh Uji, I think, yeah, okay, so both of these guys, you could say, were really good products coming in. But like, again, part of the job of a college coach is recruiting, is identifying talent, is convincing really talented people that are going to explode and swim amazingly fast that you're the person that they should trust to coach them in their swimming career. And, I think this is probably something that's going to be getting more attention, but maybe not always Josh Hughey's name mentioned. And then the final point I want to make on this is I just want to borrow a piece of analysis from SwimSwam, and I'm just going to read this out loud. It says, Caribe still has the rest of the 2022-23 season to get a shot at Crooks's freshman record. As you can see from the splits below, Caribe was 0.17 seconds slower than Crooks on the first 50 and 0.1 seconds slower on the second 50, meaning he will have to either improve both his front and back half or go more, quote, all out in one part of the race in order to get a shot at beating Crooks's time. So, Eric, I just want you to understand what they're saying there is that he's going to have to swim faster than Crooks if he wants to break Crooks's record.
Let me get a pen.
Yeah, just write that down. So if he wants to beat Crooks, I've also got some football predictions for the weekend. The team that scores more points will be winning the game. whatever game it
faster.
is you care
And
about.
then the second 50 is an option. Is there an
You know what?
option?
We'll discuss it
Okay.
afterwards.
Okay.
It's just we'll figure it out. I know it's a little bit complicated. Any reaction to the Tennessee stuff?
No, I'm 100% in line with that. I mean, it's like you had guys come in that were fast, and they're getting faster. They're certainly hitting it right now. I mean, 41s. You got a pair of guys going 41s. It's you're doing something right.
Right.
Regardless of the talent, there's got to be a focus on the intangibles, and he has got some work to do around the walls. Obviously, coming from a country where the long course is much a bigger focus than it is necessarily the short course yards. So when you watch them do the 100 side by side, I mean it's night and day where the strengths are. It's like he has a much better race on top of the water than Crooks does, but you're going to see it.
Everybody looks like they're like a child
Yeah.
next to Crooks
Yeah.
doing a turn,
So you're
basically at this
definitely,
point.
yeah, you're definitely going to, you would like to think that there's going to be some kind of improvement, whether it be steady or
Yeah.
a huge jump, in the next, could be next 2 months, we'll see some improvement, but definitely by NCAA's sophomore year, there's going to be a wow moment out of this, and anybody else that's kind of go along the way.
That would be line 3 of my email, by the way. My turns are terrible.
Yeah.
Do you think you could help? Because any college coach that coaches sprinters and goes like, actually I have no confidence in my ability to help somebody do a better turn.
Yeah.
Probably isn't at a good level. So I'm spitballing this email as you go.
Yeah. As far as the rest of that invite goes, I gotta say there were some really standout swims on the women's side. It just seems like if there was a female situation of Leon Marchand, it's Kate Douglas, and if there was a male version of the situation that is Kate Douglas, it's Leon Marchand. It's like she's going 201 200 breaststroke and 20 point in the 50 and 50 point in the 105, 51 in the 100 back, and it's like it blows your mind that you're seeing the versatility out of some of these obviously elite swimmers, and it just doesn't seem like there's an event that she can't do. And you're seeing the same thing in Tempe. It's just mind blowing. I mean, that aside, the Walsh sisters swam pretty well. They DQ'd 2 relays, which was a bit of a side. But other than that,
it seems to have been happening a bit lately.
But like, there's not. I don't know. I was kind of trying to sift through some of the stuff that was going on. There's some people pulling out of the meet. I think there might have been some illnesses floating around in and around the invite. So people either not finishing the meet or not making it to the meet. Claire Tuggle didn't swim at the invite at all. So it's just a matter of maybe the timing of everything. But, just, I'm 201, 200 breast. Like, I've just trying to wrap my head around that swim. And for the most part, it was done all on top of the water because Walsh crushed her on the pullouts. Like, her pullouts aren't bad, but they're not. You put these two together and they're going 159. It's just it's a mind blowing swim.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I didn't watch it, but I would go like my lizard brain would just go, oh well, Douglas just brings the skills that she has from all the other events over to the 200 breast. But to me, that one of her best skills is what she does directly after pushing off a wall, for lack of a better description. And that maybe is not a relative strength for her in breaststroke. Like you're right that if I'm thinking back to some previous swims that I've watched her do, it is more about how she swims on the surface of the water than necessarily
to have the one thing not being a strong flyer as she is. She's just not making the transition from the arm pull down into the surface. There's something happening from that jump off the wall through the arm pull that it's not translating yet. I mean, her short course career is quickly coming to a close, but not according to some of the interviews I guess we saw with that that they do utilize that short course to train and mental reprieve from the long course focus. But if she decides to go pro, she's gonna. I mean, we just saw Bina Nelson pulling 150K on 3 weeks work. And if she wants to,
Yeah,
that's there
she'd
for
be a
her.
World Cup. I mean, gosh, if anybody was ever built for the World Cup,
Yeah, and the way
Kate
that
Douglas.
she trains, the way that she's shown that she can do all of the tough doubles and triples that she's done at UVA, it's just, yeah. If there was any person right now on that side that was going to be a short course moneymaker for themselves for a while, it'd be her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we have anything left to do, Eric, except, maybe edit out the part where I forgot that Texas beat UVA in the dual meet, and that's why they're ranked number 1. You know what? Leave it in.
Just leave
the
it.
People deserve to know that every now and then I have a massive brain fart and I don't do any editing. So the fact that you don't hear more of them is evidence that for the most part, I don't. And, we like that cinema verite style, or I do, mainly because it involves not editing.
I will say one quick. I know since we were talking about sprinting, just 30
Yeah,
seconds.
do it. Do your one quick.
Yeah,
do it.
The SMU invite, the one that probably not a lot of people were necessarily following. Thing.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Eric's second favorite team, SMU.
Yeah, no,
just so you know, guys.
My boy hit a good swim, winning the 2 fly. Had a lot of good midseason postings. Colin, I can't say his last name right. Fieri, put up some really solid midseason times. Both those guys got invited last year to the show. But the one thing that stood out to me that I had no idea was going on, and even though they haven't quite put it into the 100 yet, SMU had 4 guys under 20 in the A final to 53 and was 0.37 off the A cut for that 200 free relays. So, one of those things that, again, talking about sprinting and the sprinting guru that's out there at Tempe, and then the guy flying below the radar, and Josh at Tennessee and UVA just being sprint all the time. You got a program out there in the Dallas suburbs, just kind of quietly also getting guys to go really fast in the 50. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out at the end of the season. They have a pretty forgiving conference championship meet, so they might be able to swing certain situations to be able to line up to get that A cut, which would be awesome to see because they'll have guys invited, provided they keep projecting like they did last season. So just a storied program that probably not a lot of people know the background in terms of some guys like Lars Frolander and the early years of the Dallas Morning News Classic and swimming in an old basketball field house, which I had the pleasure of doing my freshman year. There is no venue quite like that old field house at SMU.
Yeah, that was always I have very fond memories of watching that, or really reading the results of that beat on the internet.
That's when you had to
back
read
in the
results.
day. That's when we didn't watch. That's how we watched. Okay, kids, that's how we watched the swim meets back in the day. We waited for Phil Witten from Swimming World or Craig Lord to tell us what happened at the meet.
Who could get you a printout of the meet results. Couldn't email it; they had to mail it to you.
Yeah. And I really also particularly enjoyed that name that you had a very hard time pronouncing, because all I can hear is the name of Irish-American actor Colm Fiore, who, just look him up, guys. When you Google Colm Fiore, if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're going to go, oh, that guy. That's not who Eric was referring to. I'm pretty sure that he's 64 years old. His eligibility is all used up. But that's just where my mind went, and that's how things go on this podcast. Thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you to everybody that has engaged on my new Instagram page, Christy_coach, Krista Santis Coaching on Facebook, the people who have liked and subscribed. We still haven't gotten you to comment on these when we post them on YouTube. And if you want to help out, please go, even if you listen to the audio version of this, go on YouTube, find Christopher DeSantis YouTube page. They're all uploaded there. And just like comment, like commenting for the algorithm. Okay, you're going to help more people see this stuff, and I appreciate the help. Thank you to Eric. Eric, happy Thanksgiving. Joel, even, I guess, happy Thanksgiving, despite your not being here. And we'll see you guys again next week.
Thanks, Chris.